And the final act of the final scene of Act 1, we have David Melcher, who will be performing. I don't even need to say it's called Stupid Whip Trick, so you're gonna figure it out for yourself.
It's pretty self-explanatory. All right. Now, my name is Dave. I've been a friend of Athena's for quite a while now, and I am a sonic boom artist. And I'm going to show you some whip stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, the whip is out. I'm sorry. I should have explained. See, typically what happens, the audience sees the whip, they immediately recognize what a dangerous implement it is, and they all instinctively shriek in terror. Let's wait for the cue, Let's try that again. Ladies and gentlemen, the whip is out. Calm yourselves! Now, as you may or may not know, the whip crack is actually a sonic boom, as the end of this thing travels faster than sound. The whip is the first human invention to break the sound barrier, and there's not much to it. It's a long tapered braid of leather strips, and that's all it takes. Whoa! Parents, see me afterwards. I'll give you a good deal on one of these. Now that was the overhead crack. There's also the let's see, there's a tree right there. There's a forward crack. The wrap crack. And there is what is quite possibly the most dangerous way to crack a 6-foot whip, at least for a dude. I'm sorry, what country did you guys grow up in that you didn't recognize the stupid finger motion as the universal sign for the most dangerous way to crack a 6-foot whip? That's not it. I call that the butt crack. And a couple of you, thank you very much. The rest of you, yeah, go ahead and hold your applause for something you don't see every day. All right. Yeah, now, look, if any of us are going to have any fun here today, I think you guys are going to have to fake your enthusiasm, all right? Applying that, twice as difficult, twice as dangerous. The double crack, one throw, two cracks. You guys twice as much fake enthusiasm. 3 times difficult, 3 times as dangerous. The triple crack, one throw, 3 cracks. You guys 3 times as much fake enthusiasm. Now I should warn the people here in the front row.
I know.
The third crack in the sequence is kind of a sidearm motion. You may see the whip flying in your direction. You may find yourself leaning away from the whip. I urge you, don't bother. If I tag you with this thing, you're not going to see it coming. One throw, 3 cracks, 3 times as much fake enthusiasm. Okay. Yeah, like you never mess up your whip show. One throw, 3 cracks, 3 times as much fake enthusiasm. 4 times difficult, 4 times dangerous, 4 times as much fake enthusiasm. The 4 crack. Because quad crack just sounds silly. 4. Now, you guys want to see something really cool?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, do ya?
Yeah.
No, it's too late now. Now you're going to have to beg me. Okay. Now, you may or may not have noticed that the whip is used with one hand, freeing the other hand for other pursuits, such as a second whip. Oh, not that, wow. Ooh. A second whip. Now, some of you seem a little new to the whole faking your enthusiasm thing, so let me walk you through some of it. Alternating forward cracks typically result in a crowd going, ooh. Ooh. Alternating overhead cracks typically results in a crowd going, ah. Ah. Alternating overhead and forward cracks at intersecting angles, delicately timed so that they do not tangle, typically results in a crowd going, oh. Simultaneous overhead cracks typically result in the whips tangling and wrapping around my head and smacking me in the face. Play to your audience, they say. All right. Now I think I've got this figured out. Of course, you guys could always get lucky. Two whips in one hand typically results in a crowd screaming and applauding wildly. Now, frankly, I think you guys are getting just a little too excited. I think we need to dial it back and do something educational. If I could have a volunteer from the audience, preferably one with lots of stunt experience, maybe sitting on the end. Oh, okay. Oh, so you're seeing it for the first time too. All right, we'll stand over there.
Okay.
Now, Jacob and I and Athena and Jen, we've done stage combat for a long time. Now, stage combat involves a number of things. It involves some understanding of the martial art you're portraying. It involves acting and storytelling. And it also involves sleight of hand. We're scamming the audience, making the audience think they saw something dangerous and painful when they saw neither. So a lot of the same tricks that work with just stage magic also applies here. Now, a lot of the sleight of hand that keeps us safe with swords also works with whips. For example, abuse of depth. One of the most useful bits of sleight of hand for any actor to know is abuse of depth. Audiences have remarkably bad depth perception. For example, if I were to punch Jacob, the script said punch Jacob. I don't want to throw the punch like this, because from where you guys are, you would see the air. It doesn't matter how good he reacts, how good I act it, you see that it didn't connect. I need to get my hand between his face and the audience, then it can actually look like it connects.
Oh!
He had it coming, he owes me money. Same thing also works with a whip. Again, if I crack the whip here, even though it's moving pretty fast, you might see that it just didn't reach him. But if I crack the whip here between his face and the audience, I can be feet away from him. As long as everything lines up, it ought to work pretty good. And of course, you're not looking at the whip go by. You're looking like it is straight ahead. Yep.
MG.
Oh!
Now, there's actually a rule that we're not supposed to do our jobs too well. Like I said, as stunt performers, it is our job to make things look dangerous and painful when it is neither. But if we do too good a job with that, we can create a situation where the audience stops paying attention to the story and starts worrying for the safety of the performer. And then we are not being effective storytellers.
Our doctor of the house.
But a lot of you guys should have seen your faces. It was awesome. Now, another thing we can do is a disarm. If he threatens me with a very dangerous bottle of water.
You want to write it? Yeah.
Sure. How about a dagger?
Oh my god.
An actual weapon that's cheating.
I've never been at a wedding where I heard.
I'm sorry, someone in the second row here just said, I've never been at a wedding where someone shouted, "Do you want a sword?"
You have not been to enough of our weddings.
Yeah. All right. Now, a disarm works the same way. Now, if he's threatening me with the dagger, I could crack the whip between his hand and the audience, but he's standing there. So rather than do that, I'm going to continue that line back over here, and I'm going to crack the whip upstage. Again, I can be feet away. As long as it lines up, it ought to look like I actually tagged him. Oh. Now, another thing we can do is a catch. Now, I don't know if it's humanly possible to catch something moving faster than sound, but he doesn't have to. We're going to start with a wrap. So, if you hold your arm out like that, if I'm on my game, now if I were trying to wrap a weapon or a tree branch or something, I'd crack the whip right here to get as much force on that recoil as possible. Not a good idea in this case. Now's a good time to clear up a misconception. It is a common misconception that a bullwhip will cut through flesh. Whips do not cut through flesh. They burn through flesh. It's a rope burn. It's a rope burn when the piece of leather is moving faster than sound. He didn't even flinch. It's my kind of crazy. All right. So rather than crack the whip right here, I'm going to crack it up here. That gives me a foot to screw it up, which is more than I ought to need. Most of the energy is going to go off into the air, and what's left will gently wrap around his wrist. That's the idea. Of course, I'm a little out of practice, so we'll see how this goes. Whoop, almost. There we go. Now, if he's standing there, if he moves his, turns his palm up, moves his thumb out of the way, I ought to be able to wrap his palm.
Whoa.
Now, I don't know if any of you saw what just happened. What's supposed to happen here is I wrap his palm and I make him look good. Like I said, I'm a little out of practice and sometimes I don't get that wrap quite right. Well, he knows where the whip's going to be and when it's going to be there. So if I screw up the wrap, he can grab it and actually catch it and make me look good. So, awesome. Now, if he's standing here like this, it doesn't really look like I was trying to hurt him and he thwarted me. So if instead he goes to a fighting stance, I'm aiming for complete miss. Again, using that abuse of depth. I'm aiming for a complete miss so that if we're in different parts of the choreography, no one's getting hurt. But then he's going to dodge to make it look like I was aimed center. He's going to reach across and grab it. Now, I'm aiming at a target that isn't there anymore. He's got to get his hand at exactly a consistent spot at exactly the right time. If everything lines up, it ought to look pretty good. So where are you going to catch it?
Same.
Can you catch it across?
Sure. Yeah.
So where are you gonna? So you're gonna go there. Now go back to your fighting stance. Okay, so you're about that far from your shoulder. Everyone catches somewhere else, so I got to recalibrate when I do this with a new person.
Are we doing the kicks
when we
afterwards?
stick it together. So we string all this together. We got a nifty little fight sequence. So we got a disarm. Face tag. I'll take a beat to gloat to give him a chance to recover. We'll add a dodge upstage, and then catch. All right, cue the music.
I'm sorry. I'm dodging upstage, or you're cracking?
You're dodging upstage. I'm cracking the diagonal here. Important distinction.
Like I said, haven't done this together in about 7 years.
Something like that. Something like that. All right.
Oh!
Now, the question is, and thank you, Jake. Now the question here is, am I risking enough death and dismemberment for you people?
No!
Usually this is the part of the show where I tell people they're supposed to say no. You guys didn't need any prompting. Not sure how I feel about that. You want to see more? Yeah! All right, so I go to my stunt Tupperware and I take out a very dangerous target. If you have ever seen whip work done before, you may have seen target shooting. That is where the whip master hands the target to a lovely assistant. The lovely assistant holds the target while the whip master destroys the target, leaving the lovely assistant completely unharmed. And once she gets her stitches out, maybe she'll let me try that again. Meanwhile, I'm standing up here all by myself. Normally, she stands over here like this, and I stand over here like this. She holds out the target like this, and I Amazing! Now, was that dangerous enough for you people? No! That was way over there. What you are about to see is twice as difficult, twice as dangerous, and rarely seen. In addition to destroying the target, I will also be holding it. That's right, I will hold my own target. I will be my own lovely assistant. There's a lot of kids wandering around. I think everyone just needs to keep that one to themselves. All right, first target, over the shoulder. Ooh, you got it that time. The shoulder. Thought I had you. The. And look, it's Pavlov's audience. Watch target. How is that dangerous enough for you people? You want to see more? Yes. So I go back to my stunt Tupperware and take out a very hazardous target. The hazardous target I will hold behind my back where I can't even see it. A trick I learned in... Right, kids in the audience. let's just move on to the trick. Now, is this dangerous enough for you people?
Confused.
Getting mixed signals. All right, so for you people, my favorite audience today, a shorter target. A shorter target. Bringing the whip dangerously close to my buttocks.
The butt crack.
The butt crack, yeah. Yeah, I know what you people want.
Yes!
Sometimes a performer will miss his first attempt at a trick. This is normally done on purpose to build a sense of suspense or anticipation. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Sometimes a performer will miss his second attempt at a trick, normally because he sucks. Dangerous enough for you people? You want to see more? Yes! So I go back to my stunt Tupperware and take out a very terrifying miniature sombrero. And this is I've gotten pushback on this. This is totally terrifying. Just ask the president. And if anyone was offended by that comment, thoughts and prayers. All right. Now, there's a story behind this hat, actually. When my uncle turned 85, we got a piñata for the little kids. And when those vicious little snots were done with the little burro, this was all that remained was his little hats. I didn't get a shot at it then, so I'm going to try it now. If any kids wandering around, I am not a piñata, so if I screw this up and a piece of me comes flying off, it ain't candy. Now, there is I'm going to start high and work my way down. At each crack of the whip, if I have not dislodged the hat and everything's cool, I'll try it again. If everything's not cool, I won't. Now, there's a little-known wedding tradition among stunt performers that when a whipmaster attempts to crack a miniature sombrero from off his head, I'm telling you, this is a tradition, very little known. At each crack of the whip, the audience yells, "Olé!" I'll give you one rehearsal. Olé! All right. Olé! 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 Now, is that dangerous enough for you people? No! You want to see more? Yes! So I go back to my stunt Tupperware and take out a dangerous, I said dangerous, I said perilous, I said hazardous, I said terrifying. To the man who stole my thesaurus, I have no words to describe how angry I am. That might be the best that joke's ever gone on. Did the drinking start without me? That's the way to do it. All right, I take the unsanitary target, and the unsanitary target I will hold in my mouth. Easily the most dangerous stunt that I've tried so far. In addition to not being sure where this has been, I also run the risk of tagging myself in the face with this thing, sending blood and puke all over the place. Yay. Why would you cheer for the blood and puke? So every crowd has someone cheer for the blood and puke.
Thesaurus.
And don't look so smug in the back. I went to college for 7 years. I could easily puke on you guys from here. I will whip it. I will whip it good. Thank you. I'm also not used to having people in the audience old enough to get that joke. I'm sorry, that's an adverb, isn't it? I will whip it well. Thank you, folks. You've been awesome.